Hello and welcome back. It's Dr. Laura Mock, the life coach for busy dentists, here today. And I'm so happy to be here with you making this video today. We're going to be talking about sort of a meatier topic today, so maybe a slightly longer video, but if you stick with me to the end, you will not regret it. So we're going to be talking today about why we struggle as a society with our weight. Why is it that we have all this knowledge and all this abundant, healthy food, but we can't seem to shed the unwanted pounds that we have on our bodies? So before we start, I just want to tell you a couple of things. First of all, I have been making arrangements for something super exciting, which is that my YouTube channel is actually finally going to become an official podcast. And what that means is that if you like listening to me, but YouTube isn't as convenient, you're going to be able to start listening to me in podcast format. So if you're driving in your car or you're taking a walk or a run or whatever, I can be there with you if you want me along. So just wanted to let you know to be watching for that. And then, of course, as always, the more you engage with the videos that I put out, the more people see me. So if you can comment, if you can share, if you can like it, whatever, it all makes a difference. And besides, as I've told you before, I really love it when you get back to me. I love hearing feedback. And this particular subject is a really important one, and one that can change your life and the lives of the people around you. And then finally, at the very end of this video, I'm going to be talking about a valuable freebie. So if this subject is important to you, if you're finding that this stuff we're talking about is really good for you, please stick around to the end so I can tell you about how to get your free thing. And it's really valuable, I'm telling you. You wouldn't regret it if you do it. Okay. So we are going to be talking about the two main reasons why we as a society are overweight. And those concepts are called over desire and over hunger. And I'm going to be talking about each of them in turn. So we're going to talk about over desire first. Did you know, have you ever thought about the fact that nature has got goals for you as an organism, as one version of Homo sapiens here on this planet? Nature's got goals for you. And one of those goals is to keep you alive. And if you think about it, just try to imagine in your head deciding to hold your breath for 2 minutes. Most people cannot do that. And the reason is because your body has systems that make you stay alive. They want you alive, okay? And the other one is related to the first one, which is that they want you to pass on your genetic material to the next generation. So you can kind of imagine, like, remember the last flirtatious encounter that you had? And think about how that felt in your body, how maybe it changed your drive, your behavior, and you can kind of see what I mean. Like, nature has its ways of compelling you to do what it wants you to do, okay? So one of the ways that nature does this is through hormones and neurotransmitters. And a really big one for humans is dopamine. You know, I always used to think about dopamine in terms of pleasure. Oh yeah, it's so nice of nature to give us a pleasure hormone. How kind of it. But really, if you think about it, it's more of a survival hormone, because you get a dopamine release when you do something that nature is like, yes, do more of that. And in that way, then we as humans are compelled to follow nature's agenda. So for example, if I'm a hunter-gatherer and I'm walking through the woods and I look down and I see a bright red berry and I eat it and it tastes delicious, then I get a little squirt of dopamine and I go, oh my gosh, I should eat that again. That was delicious. It felt so good to assimilate those hydrocarbons into my body. So that's an example of how we have evolved in that hunter-gatherer kind of time, which is not exactly the same type of environment that we're in right now. But another example would be you're a hunter-gatherer and you find a new sexual partner and you get a reward for that. And that is good for nature's goals. Nature wants that to happen, and it compels you to do it by using dopamine. So now, as I mentioned, we're in a new environment, and our bodies are not designed for this environment. And I'm not saying that I'm not thankful for it, because I'm glad that we have abundant food. I'm glad that I can stay warm or cool depending on which I want. I have a comfortable place to sleep with a roof over my head and a career, and I don't have to spend a lot of time worrying about my survival. But um, in this environment that we're in right now, we have something that we didn't have when our bodies evolved, and that is concentrated food. And when I say concentrated food, I want you to mostly think about a cupcake, okay? So with the really giant dollop of frosting on it, but really you could think about anything that's been removed from its natural state into something that's more concentrated. So it could be flour to make bread or pasta. It could be dried fruit. It could be a weight loss shake. All these things that have been altered in a manufacturing process to make something that's not its original form. Excuse me. And so what happens is when we eat these concentrated foods, we get a much larger stimulus from these foods. They're sweeter or crunchier or more delicious or whatever. And so instead of getting a tiny little squirt of dopamine and a reward for eating the berry, what we get instead is a tidal wave of dopamine from eating that thing. And you can imagine taking a bite of that cupcake. That is much more stimulating than taking a bite of the berry. So what happens when we get something that's so stimulating like that is that your brain assigns that food or that type of food to being essential for your survival. And because of that, your brain is going to try to get you to eat it over and over and over again. So this is over desire. We want to eat food that we don't really need because our brain is messed up and confused from the environment that we are now in. Now, let's add in one more dangerous factor, which is capitalism. So our food sources now, we're not gathering them from the woods or even having our own garden usually. What we're doing is we're going to the grocery store. And who brings the food to the grocery store? Companies who have as their goal, not necessarily our weight control, but answering to their shareholders and being able to show their shareholders that they have posted a profit. And what's really subversive is that food companies understand this over desire concept, and so they manufacture their foods to be in line with the best over desire, the most over desire that they can make, so that they can continue to sell what it is that they are designing. So just think about a simple common food like the Oreo cookie. Okay, so has this ever happened to you before? You open a fresh box of Oreos, you eat one, and before you know it, you have eaten an entire row of Oreo cookies. Now, if you think about this from an appetite perspective, just from if we were in a natural environment, we wouldn't feel compelled to eat any food that was that large of an amount. But because of the stimulus, the concentrated food, it has hacked our brain to get us to eat an entire row of Oreos. And if you've ever heard of the term bliss point, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is when the food scientists find the magical combination of crunch and sweetness and saltiness to really hit the point in our brains that will give us the biggest hit of dopamine. And this is something that food manufacturers use as they're designing their new foods to sell to us. And scarily, they even add this concentrated food in the form of sugar usually to foods that we wouldn't even think of as being a treat. And of course, my classic example is always spaghetti sauce. There is a lot of sugar in spaghetti sauce, and you wouldn't even realize that you're eating the sugar. You wouldn't even think about the fact that you're buying a sugary product when you buy it. But the reason that it's there is because each food manufacturer is trying to compete with the others to find their habitual customers, and that means everyone's adding sugar, so everyone has to do it until they get to a point where there's even a bliss point for the spaghetti sauce. So we've got dopamine, we've got concentrated food, we've got capitalism, and it is a dangerous combination. Now, when I think about this for myself, I can look back on my life and I can see that, I have been either overweight or clawing out of being overweight the vast majority of my life. And so I was overweight basically since puberty hit and stayed overweight until I started discovering effective dieting methods. But even when I was an effective dieter, you guys might not know this about me. I did a bikini contest a few years ago. So I got on stage in a little tiny bikini and flexed my muscles for the judges. I did not win. I did get a trophy, but it was because there were only 2 people in my category and I got second place. But even when I was doing that and my body fat percentage was so low, I was constantly on alert of what I could eat next because I had never removed all the foods that cause over desire. So it was still happening in my body, in my system. I was still craving that all the time. And as soon as the contest was over, I gained all of the weight back. And that was because of this concept of over desire. Now I've been eating this new way that eliminates over desire for about a year now, and I can tell you I have never felt so zen about food. I just don't even worry about it very much anymore. What am I going to eat? Well, I don't know. There's even been times when I have actually forgotten to eat, and I didn't think that would ever be possible for me because I just love to eat. Yeah, bring it on. Bring out the pizza, whatever. I can eat it. I could eat. Okay, so that is over desire in a nutshell. And as I said, I'm going to talk about how to eliminate over desire near the end of this video/podcast. So stay tuned if this is interesting to you. Next, I'm going to talk about over hunger. So we talked about over desire and neurotransmitter dopamine in conjunction with over desire. Now we're going to be talking more about the hormones that regulate our physical hunger and the storage of fat or fuel in our body. Okay? So let's pretend, again, I'm a hunter-gatherer and I'm having a meal. We went out and we got a deer or a rabbit or whatever, and then we have some root vegetables maybe and some greens that we gathered, and we're going to sit down and we're going to share it as our tribe. Once I intake all of those hydrocarbons, it's going to take a while for my body to break it down into the basic currency of energy in our body, which is glucose. And then the glucose will slowly enter my blood and I'll use what I need. And there will be a slight increase in insulin to help clean up what I don't need and put it in storage for later. But now let's pretend that we're here in this environment, and instead of having that hunter-gatherer meal, I have a bowl of cold cereal. So you can kind of picture the difference as far as how long is it going to take for that entire meal to be broken down into the basic unit of glucose. It's going to be almost instant, you guys, because that cold cereal, even if you don't eat a sweet one, it's almost sugar already. I know you guys have all done that science experiment where you've taken a saltine cracker and chewed it up in your mouth until it's already sweet. That's how fast it is to go from a refined carbohydrate to sugary. So I eat the cold cereal, and what happens is instead of a little bump up in glucose, I get a giant one. It goes way up like that. And my pancreas is like, well, we can't have that. We need insulin to put all that away for later. So then after the big jump in glucose, we get a really big jump in insulin. And the insulin takes all that energy out of the blood and packs it away. And then what follows is a crash. So there's nothing left in your blood to fuel what's happening right now. And you know what happens next? You're hungry. So you might have eaten the same number of calories as what you ate if you had had a hunter-gatherer meal, but you're hungry 90 minutes to 2 hours after you had your cold cereal. And sometimes you even get to the point of being hangry because that continues to crash and crash and crash. So what's really sneaky about this is that food companies know about this process too. And they can use it to their advantage. I mean, raise your hand if you remember the concept of 100-calorie packs. I think those are dying out. I don't think very many people are selling those 100-calorie packs anymore. But if you think about the concept of over-desire, the concentrated food, and then over hunger, and you just picture that 100-calorie pack, maybe it's Teddy Grahams, maybe it's goldfish, whatever it is, it's all almost sugar, and it's almost like taking a hunger pill. I mean, just invite yourself to get hungry again by eating 100 calories of almost sugar. It's guaranteed to make you want to eat again. And so why wouldn't the food companies be making that for you? It's so perfect. Because you'll either eat more 100-calorie packs or you'll eat something else that they manufactured. Either way, it's fine for them. Now, for how this works for you in clinical practice as a dentist is that many times we're building our days around trying not to get hungry. And it gets even harder if we're trying not to get hungry, but we're also trying to lose weight. So we're sitting there, we're working on patients. I don't know about you guys, but my Fitbit is not impressed when I am at work. It's basically like, hey, you're being sedentary. You need to get up and do something. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting tired and I'm hungry. So what the heck is going on? Well, unless you eliminate the foods that cause over hunger and over desire, you are going to be hungry and you're only going to have your self-control on your side to try to lose weight. All right. So for me, how this worked, I have this memory of being in dental school. I'm going to attach a picture to the end of this video so you guys can see it. And just know that I love her. I love my former self. She set myself up for success in so many ways. But I just remember I was overweight. I was definitely in the 170s by the time, and I'm only 5'2", you guys. And not only that, but I have a very small frame. So 170 pounds was way bigger than I needed to be. And I wanted desperately to lose weight. But what I was doing is I was starting my morning with a Slim Fast shake. And I had no idea that that was mostly sugar. And so I would be starving by 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And I was in the middle of patient care. And by the time lunch came around, I was hangry and I was ready to eat anything that looked delicious. So my efforts were undermining my results because of these concepts of overhunger and overdesire. Now, since I've been eating this way for a year, there is no buzz. There is no constant request from my brain for more food input. I just don't feel it anymore. And it's because I've eliminated those foods. So I have developed a program in conjunction with my life coach certification, which is almost done. I'm less than a month away from being fully certified with the life coach school. And Brooke Castillo has developed this program, and I have kind of tweaked it for dentists to teach people how to eliminate overhunger and overdesire from their life so that they can eat the way they want to and have the body that they want. And here is my freebie offer. I am willing to spend an hour of my time with any of you who are willing to make an appointment with me, and I will teach you a little bit more about the ins and outs of overhunger and overdesire and what I eliminated to get to the point where I am right now. There's no obligation to continue working with me. If you listen to the call with me and you like the information, I will be thrilled. Tell your friends, share the information. If you want to sign up for coaching, I'll be thrilled, but there's no obligation to sign up with me to take advantage of this call. So at the end of this video, I'm going to put some details on how to do that. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to help you change your life if that's what you want. I'm here for you. I can't believe I found something that works so well, and I know it can work for you too. I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for sticking with me.